Beetroot juice stains everything it touches. It also does something that sounds like marketing until you look at the studies. It lowers the amount of oxygen your muscles need to perform the exact same amount of work. I want to walk you through how that works because the mechanism runs through a place you'd never expect. And then I want to be honest with you about how inconsistent the evidence actually is, because this is one of those areas where the popular version is far tidier than the research. Let's start with what's in the vegetable. Beetroot is exceptionally high in inorganic nitrate. It's not alone. Spinach, rocket, mustard leaf, and several other leafy greens carry a lot of it too. Now, nitrate on its own doesn't do anything interesting in your body. It's a fairly inert molecule. Everything depends on what it gets converted into, and the conversion pathway is genuinely strange. You eat the nitrate. It gets absorbed in your small intestine and enters your bloodstream. Then, instead of simply being excreted, a substantial portion of it gets actively concentrated into your salivary glands and secreted back into your mouth. Think about that for a moment. Your body deliberately pumps a molecule from your blood back into your saliva. That's not an accident of chemistry. It's a system. Once it's in your mouth, bacteria living on the surface of your tongue, particularly toward the back, take that nitrate and reduce it to nitrite. Your own cells can't do this step efficiently. The bacteria can. You swallow the nitrite. In the acidic environment of your stomach, and then in tissues throughout your body, some of that nitrite gets converted into nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is a signaling molecule with real effects. It relaxes the smooth muscle in your blood vessel walls, which widens them and lowers blood pressure. It also acts directly on mitochondria. So the chain is vegetable, blood, saliva, bacteria, stomach, nitric oxide. 6 steps, and one of them isn't performed by you at all. Now, what does it actually do for energy? The headline finding, and it's been replicated in multiple labs, is a reduction in the oxygen cost of exercise. In the key studies, people cycled at a fixed submaximal power output, and researchers measured how much oxygen they consumed doing it. After nitrate, oxygen uptake at that same workload dropped by roughly 3 to 5%. That's an unusual result. Normally, if you want to use less oxygen, you do less work. Here the work stayed identical and the oxygen requirement went down, which means the efficiency of the system improved. In 2011, a paper was published with the title Dietary Inorganic Nitrate Improves Mitochondrial Efficiency in Humans. That's about as direct as a title gets. The proposed explanation involves the mitochondria becoming better coupled. Less of the proton gradient leaking away without producing ATP. So more of the oxygen consumed translates into usable energy. There's also a contribution from improved blood flow, and possibly from changes in the contractile machinery of muscle itself. Researchers are still separating those out. Alright, now the fact that I think makes this genuinely memorable. You can abolish the whole thing with mouthwash. Because that conversion step happens in your mouth, performed by bacteria, an antiseptic mouth rinse removes the machinery. Studies have shown that the blood pressure lowering effect of dietary nitrate is abolished by antiseptic mouthwash, and that the performance-related effects get attenuated the same way. Same vegetable, same dose, different result because you rinsed with something antibacterial. That's an unusually clear demonstration of something I talked about on Sunday with a completely different molecule. Your microbiome isn't a side character in your metabolism. In some pathways it's a required step, and if it's missing or disrupted, the food does nothing. Now let me give you the honest picture of the evidence, because this is where I diverge sharply from most content on this topic. The effect is real, but it is not reliable. Here's a study title that tells you a lot on its own. Nitrate-containing beetroot juice reduces oxygen consumption during submaximal exercise in low, but not high aerobically fit male runners. Low but not high. The fitter you already are, the less this seems to do. Which makes intuitive sense. If your mitochondria are already well-trained and efficiently coupled, there's less slack to recover. Another study, looking at acute beetroot juice ingestion, reported no effect on oxygen consumption, glucose kinetics, or skeletal muscle metabolism during submaximal exercise. And a third found that beetroot juice enhanced intermittent running performance, but had no effect on oxygen uptake in recreational young adults. So across the literature you get a mix of positive results, partial results, and null results. Meta-analyses tend to find a small average benefit with substantial variation between individuals, depending on training status, dose, and timing. That's the accurate summary. A small effect in some people some of the time. It is not a transformation, and anyone selling it as one is going well beyond what the studies support. There is one thing about this research I genuinely admire though, and it's the control condition. Researchers didn't compare beetroot juice to water. They compared it to beetroot juice with the nitrate specifically removed. Same drink, same taste, same alarming color, same everything minus the nitrate. And with the nitrate removed, the effects disappear. That's a very clean way to isolate one variable, and it's why I trust the direction of this finding even while I'm skeptical about the size of it. So what's the practical takeaway? Today's free lever is an exercise which makes a change. It's a vegetable. Beetroot, spinach, rocket, and other nitrate-rich greens. The studies that show effects generally use a dose in the range you'd get from a concentrated beetroot shot, which is more than you'd typically eat in a meal, so be realistic about the magnitude from ordinary food. Timing matters, with plasma nitrite peaking around 2 to 3 hours after intake. And skip the antibacterial mouthwash that morning, which is possibly the strangest piece of practical advice I've given on this channel. I should add one honest note. If you're on medication for blood pressure, talk to your doctor before adding concentrated nitrate sources, because the blood pressure effect is real and additive. Now, where does my own recommendation sit today? Adjacent and narrow. Nitric oxide acts on complex 4 of the electron transport chain, which I covered in the video about light and cytochrome C oxidase. CoQ10 is a carrier earlier in that same chain, and levels tend to decline as we age. But I want to be clear that these are different mechanisms. Nitrate improves the coupling efficiency of the system through nitric oxide signaling. CoQ10 is a physical component that carries electrons. I'm not claiming a supplement reproduces what the beetroot did in those studies because nobody has shown that. If you want to support that machinery, the link in the description below is an affiliate link to Mitochondrial, which is PQQ and CoQ10 with a 90-day money-back guarantee. And if you want the version where the impressive study comes with the 3 studies that disagreed with it, subscribe. This video is educational only, and it's not medical advice. Talk to your doctor before making dietary changes, especially if you take blood pressure medication.